All right, so I got my Prospector PXL 2023 Ram 3500 about a year ago from now. So it's getting to be about that time. I should probably shoot a video just, what's happened in the year, how have I liked it, and my impressions after owning a PXL for a year, right? So I'll do that. I just have a couple of things going on right now. But I just got back from a trip, hence this video right here. And I thought, you know what, let me just put out something real quick about this PXL. I'll include it in part of the longer video. But anyways, for right now, drove to where? Around Colorado. It was about a 23-hour trip, right? Just on vacation. So just recently got back and whew, that was a painful drive. The most painful drive. The tires have always been noisy, right? But they really stepped it up a notch just on this trip here, or they'd been kind of doing it for a few days even before the trip, but it doesn't bother you that much when you're just driving back and forth to the store or something like that. Anyways, went on the road and good Lord, they were loud. And then coupled with that, I think I have a little death wobble problem as well because I was climbing up the mountain and quite a few times, right? Not climbing up the mountain, but climbing up a grade or taking a little curve. And this usually happens about 57 miles per hour because it happened maybe a couple of times. The vehicle starts to shudder a little bit. If I let go of the gas, it's fine, right? And then I can just kind of gently accelerate again. I'm able to recover from it. But the one time I was like, you know what, let me see what happens. So I just kind of kept it steady and I didn't let go. And yeah, sure enough, the whole truck just started shaking. It wasn't ridiculous, well, it was bad. So it just started shaking. And so I do have some kind of a death wobble problem of some sort. I don't know if it's related to the increase in road noise that I'm hearing right now, but I was just like, okay, something has got to be fixed on this because it's pretty sketch, right? Some of these roads in Colorado, if you're going up a pass or just some of these roads in the mountains are just a little insane. So you don't want your trucks just shuddering and shaking, and it's kind of dangerous. So I got home and started looking at the tires, and that's what we're going to do here today. So I'm going to change. I'm going to grab the truck. We're going to pull it up closer and kind of inspect it and see what's going on. All right, so check it out. All right, so we're right here on the passenger side, and you can kind of tell it's eating up the side really bad. Like it's not worn out, more like chewed up. So this is what originally kind of got me into thinking I should probably rotate my tires at this point. You see that one as well over there, and some of them are even lower than the other ones. Like this is what, see if we can measure this. So roughly about 6 30-seconds right there. Or this one here is 14 30-seconds. This is right about 11 30-seconds. This one is 17 30-seconds. This one is 18 30-seconds, right? Or 19 30-seconds actually. And the one in front of it is 9 30-seconds. So they're just all over the place. And when you touch them like this for example has a ridge right here, you know, and this has a dip right here, dip right here. So just some uneven wear. And I think I'm starting to feel some of this when I'm driving because I'm getting some steering vibration. Look at this one right here. That's also pretty bad. And you can't probably tell very much on camera, but pay attention to these guys over here. This one is longer, this oval. This one's shorter, and then this one's shorter. This one's almost gone right here, right? And these are the same things that you would be looking at over here. So hopefully that's making sense to you guys to kind of tell you the difference between these. And look at this guy right here. This is worn pretty good. That's at what, 9 30-seconds. And then the one behind it, you can see how far out it's raised compared to that, right? And so if we measure this one, it's at 22 or 21 30-seconds. So, and 15, 16 30-seconds. 13, 10, 30 seconds. I mean, it's just all over the place. And that's this front tire. If we go over to the other side, all right, this one is also getting a little chewed up. Not as bad, I don't think, as the other one. This is the driver's side right now, okay? But still, you know, some of these are worn out pretty good, some are not. This is 10, 30 seconds. Trying to hold it as flat as possible here so I can get a good measurement. 14, 30 seconds. 13. But, you know, again, look at this right here. You can probably see this on camera. You see how it's got a little knob here that's higher than the rest of this groove, or the rest of this nub right here, right? That's what I'm talking about right there. So there's a lot of those kinds of signs all across the tires. And I don't think that's by design. We'll check the rear, but I don't think that's by design right there. Let's see. So when we come to the rear, yeah, the lugs are flat, you know, maybe a slightly curved like a tire should be, but they're even, right? You don't have high and low spots on the same lug. So that's what I'm talking about with the wear that's on those guys right there. And you can see over here, we're on the driver's side rear right now. These are those ovals that I was talking about, and these are only starting to get worn out. In the front, they're like halfway gone already. So a good indication as well that we should probably rotate these. If we go around to the passenger rear side, again, this is all wearing out pretty smoothly, so no concerns there. And if we look at those ovals that I was talking about, you can see right here they're all in good shape, and the tires are wearing out nice and even. They're not chewed up, they're wearing out, you know. So another good reason to rotate these. As far as tire pressure is concerned, we'll check the fronts and we'll check the rears, see what we're running here. So this is the passenger side. So 33 psi for this one. Check the driver's side. About the same, 33 psi. All right, let's go to the driver's rear side. So that's right at 35, right? Almost. And then the passenger rear side. It's barely over 35. All right, barely over 35. Right, and the tire size for these guys is 40, 13, 50, 17. And let's see what they recommend for PSI here. So maximum load, 1,460 kgs. We want pounds, 3,196 per tire, right? At 260 kPAs or 35 PSI when cold. It's cold right now, or it should be basically barely. It's cold right now, so 35 PSI is accurate for that. And that is what we're running on this tire. I've driven the car now for about 8,700 or 8,600 miles. Haven't really rotated the tires, so I'm gonna go ahead and rotate them now, and trying to take the ones that are in the front, put them in the rear, but only across, right? So I'll take the driver's side front and I'll put it in the rear on the passenger side, right? So we're gonna go across. And then same thing with the one on the passenger side. We'll take that from the passenger side. we'll put it on the rear, okay? And then we'll take the ones that are on the rear and we'll just directly move them up front. All right, we pulled into the shop at least as much as we can. You can see there's a vehicle up there, so we can't use that jack. So we're gonna have to actually use manual jacking. Now, if you are jacking up your vehicle, there's the factory jack that is in this location right here. So if you don't have a Prospector, this is the equipment that you would use right here. But unfortunately, this jack is not gonna be high enough, I don't think anyways. And so I'm not gonna bother with that guy. And also, it would just be a lot of work to use that manual jack. So we will put that cover back on and go underneath here. I'll show you anyway where you would jack it up if you were gonna use that jack. So we're in the front of the vehicle right now. So they say you're supposed to place your jack as close to the wheel as possible, right? So you're looking at, I don't know, somewhere between here or there, depending on the kind of jack that you're using. Depending on the kind of jack you're using. As you can see, there's not a lot of clearance here. This is about the thickness of a finger and a half. So not a lot of room there. Same thing with this. This is a little bit bigger right here, 2 fingers. So you could possibly put a jack right there and jack it up. In the rear, it's the same kind of thing. Let's take a look at that. All right, so rear side of the vehicle, you got a little bit more room. So anywhere, once again, between the shock and the wheel right there. So you're talking about this area right here will do to jack it up. So we are gonna do something a little different here. We're actually gonna use the pumpkin on the front and the rear to lift it up. I think it should be fine, but this is purely experimental, so I wouldn't do what I do. You can also use the frame, you know, to lift it up. So that's also another route that I can take. Use the frame and then put jack stands underneath it. Because what I want to do is I want to move that driver's side tire right there to the passenger side rear over there. So I do need to be jacked up on both sides, competing sides, which is going to be a little interesting to try to get that done. It would just be easier if I was jacking up, you know, one side and then moving the tires on that side. So let's see what we can do to get this done. All right. Okay, so I've got my handbrake engaged inside. And I'm going to be doing the driver's side tire first. So I've got the rear tire blocked. And I've loosened all the nuts. Loosened, just one turn. Just using my breaker bar and the 22 socket. And now it's time to raise it off the ground and get the side up. And for that, I'm going to use my Badlands trail jack here with a little extension on it so that it goes, and it's got the extension on it so I don't have to go as high. Okay, so even with it all the way lowered down here, I still don't have enough height, or I have too much height. So I'm going to lower this all the way down, put our safety clip in there, and see if that's going to be enough to do this. But I feel like that's still gonna be too high, but let's take a look. Woo! Just barely made it. Okay, that's good. So we will center this, lock the jack. Three-ton jack. It's definitely struggling. So, all right, so we barely have it off the ground here. This jack is not having a good time at all. Like, it's doing it, but definitely struggling the whole time. So we're gonna try to put our 6-ton Duralast jack stand underneath here, you know, just to help this jack out, because we'll have to remove this wheel and then go do the same thing in the rear. All right, we got our jack in place, tires off the ground quite a bit, so that when I settle it down on the jack stand, it should be good. So let's do that. Ooh, that was a little bit harder than I intended on. Okay, so now we'll go to the rear and do the same thing there. So we got our jack placed between the shock mount bracket and the tire, and so we're gonna jack it up now. The back wheels are slightly on a downhill here, so not psyched about that, but I do have that block on there for what it's worth. I should actually move that to the front, as a matter of fact, to prevent that from rolling backwards. All right, and we do have the parking brake on as well, so we are being as safe as possible right now. All right, that's off the ground. Jack had a slightly better time doing the rear, probably because it's lighter. So now I just need to remove this tire, set it to the side, because this is actually going to go on the passenger side right there. And I need the one on the driver's side front to come over here. So I'm going to do that little switcheroo. All right, so now that we got the bolts back in this here, they're not tight yet. We'll tighten them all together at the end of this thing here. So we're gonna move on now to the passenger side and jack it up, remove that tire, replace it with the one that we removed from the rear, right? And then we're gonna take that one and then send it to the rear passenger, rear driver's side, okay? So that's the second tire done. We got the one that was in the rear over here, and that came from the driver's side. This tire here now goes to the rear on that side. So we're gonna lower the jack, move it out to the back, jack up that tire over there, driver's side, and replace it with this guy. All right, so we're on the driver's side now. We're gonna remove this wheel right here and move it over to the front. But first, we're gonna grab that jack and come jack up this position right here. All right, it's maxed out, but we were actually able to get it off the ground enough, I believe, to do this. So that's cool. Saves me the effort of having to move the jack, but it's still, you know, it's completely maxed out. I could put a block on top of that to help out with things, but that's good enough right now. Let's get it changed. So now for our final tire. So what I like to do when I do this is that I find the holes and make sure the tire is positioned in the right spot before I lift it up. And then I just use my thighs and my legs to kind of hug that tire and lift it up and put it into position. These tires are very, very heavy. So scoot in a little bit. And just like that, it's on. So you can also use various ways of doing this, right? Some people use like a crowbar or something underneath to lift it up. That's also another way of doing it. So either way, just straight up lifting it, unless you're some kind of power lifter or some kind of, I don't know, even then you still got to try to aim for the bolt holes while you're doing that. So it's it can be a little challenging, but we got these rotated now, and I'm just after taking off the ones that were in the front, they're in a pretty bad way right now. Like, I can't wait for them to be in the back for a while and get evened out. Hopefully they can still get evened out, because just trying to push them or trying to roll them across the room, they weren't even rolling well anymore. So I think those were pretty jacked up at this point. Anyways, they're rotated now. Probably should have rotated them sooner. And I'll just have to try to go another, I don't know, same amount of miles probably, just to try to fix that damage before I rotate them again. But then these ones are going to be jacked up, so I don't know. Also, maybe I just need to take it in and get it aligned, or have somebody at a tire shop, an actual tire shop, look at it and kind of try to determine what happened to those tires. So just in case something needs to be adjusted. All right, so all I got to do now is remove my jacks, lower it to the ground, tighten them up. I'll have to look up the actual torque settings, so torque them down, and then we should be good to go. I'm actually going to go on a drive after I'm done with this, just to figure out if the noise goes down a little bit or if it sounds any better, just having those fresh tires in the front. So okay, so we went ahead and did the tire change, and I can already tell you, I'll show you the sound meter here, but even that doesn't do it justice. It is a whole lot quieter in here now that those tires are switched around. I think those tires now in the rear are just so completely jacked up that they were just making too much noise. Starting from them just being worn out, and perhaps maybe even whatever movements happening in the front of the car that I need to get looked at. But this is so much better. The ride is better, the drive is better, it handles a whole lot better as well. The steering wheel is not, I don't get a lot of feedback from the steering wheel, or some of the feedback that I was getting from the steering wheel is definitely gone at this point. So I do need to take the car in and have it looked at to figure out, does it need an alignment, is it toe in, toe out, what's quite going on with it, or is just one side toe in, toe out, or the camber is slightly off, or whatever it is that it is, because it seemed like maybe towards the edge of the tire it was wearing out a whole lot more than it was on the inside. So that could be a result of the tire being, you know, cambered in or toe in, you know. So one way or the other, I think maybe it's not going to hurt to have that looked at. But overall, got the tires rotated now. Note to self, change them or rotate them every 4,000 miles in the future, just to stop them from being ate out that much. But that's about it for right now. Hopefully this is helpful to somebody out there who's got a PXL and trying to wonder the same thing, or trying to understand what's going on with theirs. And I'm also curious to hear from you guys. If you got a PXL and you're having the same kind of thing, definitely let me know, because I'm curious to hear about that. The only other thing is the wobble. That doesn't happen all the time, so it's very hard for me to just go on a road test and establish that. But we'll figure it out sooner or later. But for right now, this is it. Until then, peace.